Okay, so we've got Maxime PACHOT who's with us through a video link, and you got Holgersen, you're here. I'm not on my own here. That's great. Maxime PACHOT, let's start with you. You're head of consultancy, Bright Future Marine Solutions. And we're going to talk about safety measures in offshore wind in the marine offshore sector. What would you say? To what extent can we actually afford to lower safety standards when it comes to offshore wind energy compared to the oil and gas sector that's also working at sea, obviously?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon to you all. Sorry for not being present here. Offshore being offshore, I was installing some wind turbines in the Baltic Sea, and I couldn't make it. Sorry for that.
All right.
So yes, thank you for your first questions. Oil and gas has been the standard industry for a few years, and obviously it's an objective in quality of HSE management. But obviously the risks are not the same of installing wind farms and installing fixed or floating platforms for oil and gas. So there is a reasonable work to do, whatever the players in the industry, to assess what we can do compared to the management of risk with the installing the wind turbine, the wind foundations. Basically, a big comparison. When you install a wind farm or a wind farm, yes, you don't have the energy risk on site compared to oil and gas, where the energy is already there, like crude oil is there, the gas is there. So when you try to take it, there is already a risk where when you try to install when you execute the installation of the wind farm, the energy is not there yet. You try to install where there is no wind. So obviously the risks are of different kind, but different level as well. So we really need to see the oil and gas as a asymptote that we never reach, but where the good ideas are, and we could select those good ideas applicable to offshore wind.
Right. Do you think that the people who work in the offshore wind sector are aware of the measures that need to be taken for them to be safe? I understand that in the oil and gas sector, there's a lot of experience already, and people are very aware that there are risks. Is that the case in the offshore wind energy sector?
I think this is this question is maybe the challenge one. Basically, many people working in offshore wind are not coming from the oil and gas, and this is where we have to change the mentalities a bit. Because as long as the installations are going okay, people are feeling that they are safe, but maybe they aren't safe. Farms are getting larger, bigger, they are going more offshore. The ships and all the equipment of the installation are getting bigger, and the risks are increasing with it. So what we like to do, at least very humbly at our level, is to educate the offshore wind people to raise up a bit their standards of HSE, showing that they sometimes have been developing bad habits in doing a certain manner. And we try to make the links between the oil and gas and offshore wind industries are basically very complementary in terms of HSE offshore, to show them that all the improvements can be already not created, but just adapted from the oil and gas. So the big challenge on the, let's say, the evolution of mentalities in the offshore wind. But I'm sure that many players in offshore wind are already aware of that, and it's just a question of aligning the needs and the financials and the workforce internally.
And could you maybe give one or two concrete examples where people need to be more careful in offshore wind energy?
Yes, I will not give you a concrete, let's say, example. But I'm sorry. Some people are in the airport. I'm going to get some examples because people do know with whom I'm working, so I don't want to blame anyone here. We've seen projects where we had to be way more present onto the deck than on other ships and other projects. So basically, working at high, carrying heavy loads, suspended loads overboard, working at night, and having SIMOPs, so simulated operations between ships at night with the wind extra. Some people were not really aware of the defectuous aspect of their system. People maybe sometimes are overconfident on the system they are using, and we need to be more humble facing some elements. When the weather is getting a little harsh, we need to stop the jobs. So oil and gas, it's an automated habit to stop the jobs whenever it gets a bit harsh, where in offshore wind, they try to play with the line. So we need to remind the people that the weather is getting harsher, and then we need to stop the jobs. And sometimes it's quite hard to make understand.
That's certainly something that you, Ågot Holgersen, you know from experience. You're a leader in safety and sustainability at Norwegian energy company Equinor. Your company has extensive experience in the oil and gas sector, and together with your partners, you are building the world's largest offshore wind farm, Dogger Bank, in the UK. Would you agree with Maxime just said, or tell us about your company's approach to HSE and offshore wind energy?
Yes, thank you, Lisa. And I think I can relate to a lot what Maxime is saying. So I think it's back to what is really safety. And I think I would like to ask you all here in the audience a question. Do you believe, or do you hope to be home safely when you return from this conference? And I believe that you all will say yes, and that's what it's really about. It's to return home safely. And I think then, so health and safety should be a priority for offshore wind. And I have some key points. I don't know if the presentation is there. Maybe you can just take the next slide. I don't know how that was. I can just click there.
The green button.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, it's up there. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't see it. Yeah, no, so I have some key points for my presentation that I will go through, and I will just keep them up here all the time. I think a strong HSE performance, it builds trustworthiness and acceptability. And I have heard a lot of people mentioning the word acceptability, and I think a strong safety performance is important for acceptability. And of course, in HSE, the E, environmental is imperative, but here I will focus on the health and safety part of it, just to say that. So, on the learning from oil and gas, I think there's a lot that can be transferred from oil and gas to offshore wind when it comes to planning, construction and operation of an offshore wind farm safely. Because the industry has several of the same risks as Maxime mentioned as well, like heavy lifting, manual handling, dropped object, marine operations, etc. And the oil and gas industry has worked continuously to improve safety over the years. And we see that continued focus on safety awareness is important for a strong day-to-day safety performance, and the courage to say no, maybe, or stop if it's needed. So, but then, of course, offshore wind must adopt a risk-based approach and address the safety risks that are relevant for the industry. And together we can develop and adopt global and international standards and best practices to address those risks. And because we know standards gives predictability, and predictability is an important driver for safe work. And an example of standards could be GWO, the Global Wind Organization, and their safety training standards. And then in the program it was said it was safety, but then also focusing maybe on cost. And of course, using a risk-based approach can also reduce costs as the effort and costs are focused where the impact is greatest.
Right. And what kind of experience have you made so far when implementing these rules, these standards? Are you facing any resistance, or do people understand that they need to follow these rules? I mean, what is it like for you?
I think it's a continued effort to talk about it. You need to put safety on the agenda every day and create the awareness as we do now. We speak about it, we talk about maybe issues, and that's the way you can work to improve safety. Right. And I believe also that then collaboration is very important, collaboration and experience transfer.
Right, okay. And are you, when you're saying you talk about that, do you have integrated modules in your training about health and safety when when you recruit people? Is there, because I know that is standardized in certain sectors, is that the case?
I think maybe it's back to that we need to have maybe standardized training that can help across the industry. So that is one example on how we work to create a good safety standard. So, but would you like an example maybe?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Because in the program it said how to avoid additional costs was one of the questions in the program. And I think I could share an example with you. An example where improved safety was the driver, but where we also increased revenue. So, and it is the design of a new, innovative and safe access solution in the offshore wind farm Dogger Bank in the UK. So back in the winter of 2017, our SOV at the Dudgeon field, another field, it nearly collided with the turbine. So luckily it all went well. But to make a long story short, together with suppliers and partners, we have used the learning from this incident to improve the design of our Dogger Bank turbine and SOV, and change the way we lift cargo from the vessel to the turbine and the manual handling of cargo into the VTG. So by doing so, we have reduced hazardous situations for people, and we have removed 1 million offshore lifts and 20,000 tons of manual handling, and the efficiency has over 10 years of craning time were removed. So we were freeing up time for other tasks. So I believe that's a very good example on how we can work together. When we see we have incidents, if we might have as many incidents within the same area, we can learn and improve and share experience across and work together as an offshore industry.
Well, that's fascinating, thank you. Our last participant has arrived, so please come onto the stage. You're Xavier REITER from, hello.
Hello.
You're in charge of, no worries, HSE at the French project Fécamp, the 500 megawatt offshore wind farm Fécamp. And I understand you are dealing on a day-to-day basis with lots and lots of rules. Do these safety rules always make sense? Is it always that straightforward for you?
Yes. Thanks of all. Thank you for inviting me to this event. It's something important for me and for EDF Renewable. Within the company, there is a philosophy to provide a strong HSE and an individual commitment to every employees and partner in order to reach our HSE objective, zero harm. To answer to your question, so yes, regarding rules and clarification needs to be applied to be bring to our colleagues, stakeholders, knowing that many of them are coming from the oil and gas industry. So I can say the three examples. Maybe I can start the first one with the training. So as per our HSE training requirements, to access to offshore vessel, we need to have training such as BOSIET. Or when we need to climb to offshore assets, it will be more GWO, Global Wind Offshore training. We can talk also about a second point that is more linked to the permit to work. So each contractor, most of them have a permit to work system on their vessels. But on top of that, we have our own permit to work led by the Marine Coordination. So after the documentation has been approved, they are checking and approving site access through this permit to work in order to coordinate any offshore activities or simultaneous operation. A third example I can give is related to the emergency. So every contractor have his own emergency response plan, but as per the French regulation as well, we have what we call a PIM, Plan d'intervention maritime, or a Maritime Intervention Plan. It's a kind of overall emergency response plan to coordinate the emergency offshore, on our offshore wind farm.
So I suppose that last part, when you work together with international suppliers, doesn't really make it easier for you.
No, neither, because we have our standard that is a basic standard in HSE, that is the HSE management plan, emergency response plan. We are also performing ASID. However, company needs also to adapt to the French regulation. Like, French companies that are going in international, we need to adapt to the country where we are going. So for that, today on Fécamp project, offshore wind farm, we are during the construction phase with the involvement of multiple companies. So it's enter into the classification of the French regulation called Decree 94. And because of that, we need to implement a few points that needs to be explained to our partners. So a few points that needs to be highlighted is the involvement of a third party called a safety coordinator. Also, we need to create a plan général de coordination. It's a general coordination plan. It's as known as HSE management plan in the industry. We also have the PIM I just mentioned earlier, the Plan d'intervention maritime, that is this overall emergency response plan. So this is as per in health, safety and environment.
That sounds incredibly complicated.
Yeah, it's not simple, but we are guiding, and that's why we are making a good communication with all parties.
Yeah, of course. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, if you would like to. No, no. I was just thinking about the other session that we had before on innovation, and of course within safety, to improve on safety, innovation will also be very important. And today I just wanted to mention that we awarded the winners in Océole's Appel à manifestation d'intérêt on maritime safety, and it was organized together with Paul Mer-Bretagne and Institut Maritime de Prévention. And for us, I believe this a kind of collaboration and innovation, and looking for the next Dogger Bank example, as I mentioned, we would really much like all French suppliers to take a part in that and think about the new great solutions to improve on safety.
Great. So who's the winner?
The winner, I don't know, it's a company called AMG, Agiltech, and CD was the solutions that won. Yeah.
Great, congratulations to them.
Yes.
Thank you very much, the three of you, for joining me here and in Paris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.